Imagine a goat that is unhappy with its situation and which decides to take the matter to court. Does the law do enough for our animal friends? They are conscious beings, sensitive to emotions and pain. Even fish can suffer, yet their interests are often overlooked. Isn't it time to redraw the lines?
For some time, we ignored the sensitivities and suffering of animals and their mental states, so we could do what we wanted.
Boris Cyrulnik is a pioneering French ethologist or animal behaviorist. For someone who is also a psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, the problem society has with admitting animal suffering is deeply rooted in Western culture.
Animals were considered to be utterly non-human. This allowed us to categorize the living world and attribute a supernaturalness to mankind, allowing humans to control birds in the sky, mammals on land, and fish in the sea.
In the early 20th century in the West, animals paid a high price as a result of the Industrial Revolution. We widely exploited their capacity for hard work and their bodies. As our societies became richer, the demand for meat grew. In the abattoirs of Chicago, the biggest in the world, a cow was slaughtered every 8 seconds and a pig every 5. The race for productivity destroyed traditional animal rearing practices.
It was industry that widened the gap between humans and animals. And at that time, anything went. Unnecessary torture, unnecessary experiments, unnecessary massacres as innocently as you like. It wasn't considered a problem because machines were doing it.
Don't worry about it hurting them. Penicillin-injected rabbits are the healthiest in the world. They seem to enjoy their job of serving mankind.
After the Second World War, science also began to use animals on a huge scale. Experiments proved increasingly popular, with no thought for the animals. They were used to help us understand how our bodies work, sleep, vision, pain, how the nervous system functions, or even to prepare for a trip into space. These were the real pioneers of the space race.
After the trip, he's released from the canister, perfectly happy after his amazing experience and no ill effects at all.
Were these space pioneers really happy? Very few people raised any questions about the physical or psychological suffering of these chimpanzees. Yet the way we viewed these great apes would gradually change, thanks to a few women primate specialists. In 1958, in the Gombe Reserve in today's Tanzania, a young woman began observing chimpanzees.
When I got to Gombe, I had no scientific background. Nobody had told me how to study the chimpanzees, and so I used my own intuition. And gradually, I accumulated a whole lot of information. I got to know the chimpanzees as individuals.
She lived for months in immersion with the primates, naming each one. She discovered that chimps can make and use tools, care for each other, help each other, feel hate, fear, and love, and even make war. However, Jane Goodall's university tutors initially refuted her observations.
I'd been in the field about 1.5 years when I was told I'd done everything wrong. Chimpanzees should have had numbers, not names. I couldn't talk about them having personality or mind capable of thought, and certainly not emotions. Those were unique to us. I knew the chimpanzees had personalities. I knew that they could think. I knew that they had emotions. And gradually, thanks to my first husband arriving and filming, gradually more and more people began to understand, yes, I was right. The line between us and the rest of the animals wasn't a sharp line. The difference was one of degree, not kind.
This new perspective on animal behavior was reflected in the major protest movements of the 1960s. Militants simultaneously embraced all the major causes: the Vietnam War, racial segregation, women's rights, gay rights, and animal protection. Public opinion began to turn against seal hunting and testing cosmetics on animals.
Stop torturing animals! Most people believe that rabbits are voiceless. Wrong!
In 1980, a group of activists launched a boycott of the U.S. brand Revlon.
That small group of people chose the target of cosmetics because, firstly, nobody can say that cosmetics are something that is necessary for our survival. You know, they are not life-saving medicine. And secondly, test cosmetics, very cruel experiments were done on rabbits. The cosmetics were put directly into the eyes of the rabbits. The rabbits were held in a kind of box with only their head sticking out, so they could not scratch the eye or anything like that. And they were there for days.
At the time, Peter Singer was a young Australian philosopher who had just written a seminal work, Animal Liberation. His book inspired the anti-Revlon activists, along with a whole generation of animal rights supporters. His key message was that it is unfair to not protect animals like rabbits just because they are rabbits. We don't have the right to make them suffer things that we would not do to human beings.
The more conservative traditional animal movement had presented itself as a matter of we should love animals. I was trying to argue, no, this is not something only for animal lovers. It is a basic question of justice or a question of ethics, that we are treating animals wrongly. We are not treating them in the way that they are entitled to be treated. If a being can feel pain, its pain matters. And its pain does not matter less because it is not a member of our species.